What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat. Once again, we're back with another episode of The Last Word. So, as you can see by the title, today we're just going to take a look at what's been going on this past week in the NBA. Obviously, for certain reasons, NBA has been in a pretty big spotlight the past couple of days specifically. We'll get to that in a second. But let's start back on Saturday. Of course, in-season tournament final was on Saturday, the inaugural in-season tournament. And at least if you're a Laker fan like myself, you were pretty satisfied with how it turned out. Lakers got a 123-109 victory over the feisty, but just not there yet, Indiana Pacers. This one was a good game, pretty competitive all the way throughout. Up until last quarter, Lakers kind of took over a little bit there, and got that win by 14 points. But of course, big story in this one, Anthony Davis coming out with 41 points, as well as 20 rebounds, which, before I pass to you, man, it's just like this is the type of performance that we want. I know AD can't do this literally every night. It's just not, we can't expect anybody to do this every night, but this is the type of performance that I want to see from AD like at least 70% of the time. Not even just the 40 points, but dominating the boards the way he did. I mean, shot really well, got a lot of free throws. Like he did pretty much everything he needed to do in this game, and still reminding us who the heck he is.
Yeah, you have to give big props to AD in this game. He came out, I don't know if it was the 500K on the line or what it was, but he played
Right.
an incredibly good basketball game. 41 points, 20 rebounds, 15 defensive rebounds, 4 blocks, 5 assists. Just a pretty well-rounded game for the Lakers star big man. LeBron, of course, had a good game, 24 points for him, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. Just two good games for the Lakers all around. Austin Reeves with 28 points as well in this one. I think 22 of them came in like a 6-minute burst, something like that. It's been a little bit since the game, but that was a trio that did very well in this game, and really it just kind of speaks to the fallacies of the Pacers. Before I get there, I want to keep kind of building up this Lakers team has been through a lot of strife recently. Anthony Davis, since this game, has actually continued to play at a pretty high level. He just went into a pretty big duel with Wembanyama the other night. Both of them traded some massive games. AD again having a great game. So this seemed to be like Lakers got a little bit of power back on them. They did immediately lose to the Mavericks after the in-season tournament championship, but they played really well all the way through the championship. I said in our last video that it was kind of hard to bet against LeBron in an elimination game like this, and I think that holds pretty true. The Pacers didn't necessarily play a bad game. They just don't have the most amazing defense. Their offense is pretty good. You can get a lot of points out of a lot of guys, and they do. They get 20 out of Halliburton in this one, 13 out of Obi Toppin, 10 out of Miles Turner, 15 out of Aaron Nesmith, another 10 from another guy off the bench, and of course they get 20 from Benedict Mathurin, who was great last year in his first year, has been pretty good this year as well. So the Pacers have just a really good offense, but they're not super great on defense. They just can't hold off a lot. Miles Turner is definitely their best defensive guy, and AD, put up 41 and 20 on him. So that's not amazing if you're a Miles Turner or a Pacers fan in this one. But I think this was great. It was a great entertaining finale to the in-season tournament. Obviously, as a Bucks fan, I got eliminated by the Pacers, which I would say no hard feelings there. But as we'll get to in a few minutes, there appears to be.
Right.
But this one was good. I think this was good for basketball. I know a lot of people will probably make some jokes and weird comments about the fact that LeBron won this one, but I think that's good. I think it's good to see a team full of kind of important, serious stars in the NBA win this first one, so that in the future, if it happens to be a different team, we don't see any kind of foolery about, this doesn't mean anything. Now, obviously, like the Spurs won this year, I think people, that's might get some hype because of Wemby, but I think people might have downplayed it a little more. But all of the teams that made it into the quarterfinals and stuff were pretty serious teams. These two teams here, the Pacers are a young, up-and-coming, feisty team. The Lakers are a pretty established, somewhat established, good team. And so I think this was a good one. I'm glad the game was good, and I look forward to seeing this continue to be implemented into the NBA season. I think this was a good idea. I was a little skeptical when it first came out, and the way that it's scheduled is a little weird. We could adjust that a little bit more. I saw Tyrese Halliburton say I think there should be a playoff spot guaranteed. I think if we do that, it has to be later in the season. It's weird to guarantee a playoff spot to a team that won something in December because so much stuff can shift. I mean, the Lakers right now are having a pretty good season, but it'd be weird to go ahead and guarantee that they're just like a playoff
Right,
team
right.
because of that. I think that's
Yeah.
a little bit of a stretch because of how early we are in the season. Not that I have anything against the Lakers, but they're 15-10 right now, and that feels odd to be 5 games away from 500 and be like, well, we got a playoff spot. We can maybe coast the rest of the season. So I think if we're going to do that, the tournament has to move to the later parts of the season. But I kind of like it in the beginning. That's one thing that I know we've talked about. I was like, it's kind of weird to think about an elimination game in November and December. But I enjoyed it. I think it was good. Added a lot of flair to the regular season. I know I'm a huge NBA fan, but before the All-Star break, it's kind of hard to truly get invested sometimes because there's just so much going on and so much that might not matter. So it was cool to have something to really get hooked into at the early parts of the season while the NBA is still kind of competing with the NFL and at some points the MLB in this early part of the season.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the whole. Well, excuse me, I should say I don't really agree with the whole idea of it being a playoff spot on the line. Like even if it was later in the season, maybe you could justify it more. But no, I think you should keep it as it's a fun little tournament to kind of have, based on how many games it is and everything. Have like different prize or whatever like that. But I don't think it should guarantee a playoff spot. I mean, I just don't see it unless they drastically change the whole format of it. But yeah, no, with that being said, it was still nice to watch as a whole. And despite being somewhat skeptical of it going into it, I think it's definitely been successful. So uh, I look forward to seeing it next year. But as you just mentioned, though, we got to talk about your boy Giannis. Now the
Yeah.
Bucks, they played the Pacers just a couple days ago, and the Bucks they came out with the dub in this one 140-126. But that's not really the story here. The story is that Giannis dropped a career high franchise record 64 points, which is actually insane to think about. I mean, like just casual Wednesday in the NBA season, Giannis drops 64 points before Christmas. Um, but again, that's not the story either. Story after the game, Giannis is his big behind. He's running into the locker room like he's about to fight the whole Pacers crew, fight the city of Indiana. I mean, like the state of Indiana. Excuse me. Like I don't know what Giannis was on. And look, I get he wanted the ball because it was a career high, broke the record. I get that everything. So he wanted that game ball. Pacers, on the other hand, according to them, they had a rookie that scored his first official points. Um, not counting the in-season tournament game final because they didn't count. So they argued that point. It seemed like Giannis did get the ball at the end. I still have no idea, like if that was really the ball. He says, it didn't feel like the ball. I look, man, I don't know. Like this thing got way out of hand for no reason. It wasn't just that; it was some chippiness throughout the game. Giannis' brother was trying to get in some of the action there for once in his life. It it's just a little ridiculous to be honest with you. But at the same time, it's kind of the stupid ridiculousness that makes the NBA regular season kind of fun. Because when it's just the tough patches of the season. Obviously you just had the in-season tournament, but when you get through these tough patches of the season, you're just trying to grind through. Just stupid things like this just makes it kind of fun to sit and watch and get through it. But I'm sure if these teams were to maybe meet in the playoffs or something like first round or something like that, maybe there might be something going on. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal once we get past December really.
Yeah, I think we've got like a playoff rivalry brewing, competitive sport type of thing. But I'm not sure it's going to be like a long lasting beef. But this was an insane event all around. You mentioned it. It gets a little chippy. Giannis gets maybe thrown to the ground. I don't know. At one point, it does look like Neesmith is trying to catch him, but then he actually it seems more like he was. It's a hard foul, and it seems like he was trying to correct the foul. But the foul was already there. You're gonna have a little bit of tension. Um, Mayor of Milwaukee, Bobby Portis, comes in and gets a little angry at Thanasis. Flies forward from the bench, but like just far enough to where somebody could still grab him. Um,
Right.
almost like he wanted to. Like, he just wanted to be there to seem like he was trying to get in, but he didn't really want to get over there. It would be a tech if he did, for one. Not that I think the Bucks would be weary about Thanasis being ejected. I don't think that would hurt too much. But yeah, that happened. And then Giannis cruises his way to 64 points. A lot of free throws, high efficiency there. A lot of high efficiency on his actual shooting that night as well. Pacers essentially played, just hack Giannis and hope it works. And unfortunately for them, he made a lot of his free throws, so that didn't help them. This is a crushing defeat for the Pacers coming after the in-season tournament victory they had. Maybe there's some bad blood in the air from Halliburton doing the Dame time celebration. I don't know. I don't think any of it could be that serious. But I do agree that this is what we need in the NBA's regular season. We'll get to something in a few minutes that I think we don't really need. But this one, I think this is just fun for the most part. Nobody really gets wounded here. Rick Carlisle said his GM has a bruised rib. I don't know about that, man. I need a medical report on that one. Maybe that's the teacher in me. I need a doctor's excuse. But I'm not feeling that one. I don't even see any proof that he got elbowed. So that just feels like a weird claim to make. At the end of the day, I think it's a home game for the Bucks. Giannis sets his own career high, breaks the Bucks scoring record as well. The game ball has to go to him first. If they want to inform him that, hey, Oscar Tshiebwe scored his first career point, do you want to give it to him? That's one thing. If it was a Pacers home game, it'd maybe be a little different too. The environment would be different. But they came into our house, got whooped, allowed 64 points, and then ran away with the game ball to give it to Oscar, who scored a free throw. By the way, it wasn't like he made a tough shot or something. He got fouled and missed one of them. So he hit one of his two free
But he
throws.
scored though. He scored.
He scored. I don't want to take anything away from him. He was great in college as well. I'm sure he'll be pretty good. Pacers have had good development of young players recently. But this is just a crazy thing. Watching a video of Giannis Antetokounmpo bulldozing his way down the security tunnel was something. And then I've seen that same clip in reverse because the Pacers signed James Johnson right after this event, as if they were gearing up for a street fight. Like they're ready for some kind of inner city warfare between these two teams. So I've seen a clip saying that, showing Giannis backing up out of the tunnel in preparation for James Johnson's arrival to Indiana. I don't know. This is a crazy scenario. This is a random Wednesday on the association. A Wednesday night where, by the way, we have Jaren Jackson Jr. drop 40. We have Wemby and AD duel for 37 and 30 each, respectively. Joel Embiid drops 40. Brandon Ingram drops 40. Pascal Siakam and Trae Young have a pretty good duel, 33 and 35 points respectively for them. Just a really good night all around. And all we get out of it is Giannis Antetokounmpo almost kills the Pacers organization for the game ball. Seen things today as well, where the Raptors coach was able to secure the game ball for Dennis Schroeder. I guess he just hit his 10,000th career point a few nights ago. And they made a joke saying, "Is this the right game ball?" Somebody said something about don't let the Pacers get a hold of it. So we got some little funny stuff going on with the NBA now. And I think that's what we need. You don't get a lot of this in the middle of the season with sports like the NFL, not as much. We had some tomfoolery last night with the Chargers game, just because of how the game was. Austin Eckler signaling a first down completion down 56 points is about the peak of the foolery we get there. But this is good, lighthearted, I think, fun drama for the NBA season. I don't think there's going to be a super beef here, but James Johnson is a Pacer, so if it does get aggressive again, the Pacers have an upside on that one. So from there, we'll transition to the NBA's current villain, not Dylan Brooks. He has been a quiet, quiet, decent piece of that Rockets offense and defense this year. I don't know, maybe getting out of Memphis helped him. Draymond Green, however, in the words of Yusuf Nurkic, that brother needs help. I can't believe that Yusuf Nurkic said that after the game, by the way, but it does kind of make sense considering these circumstances. In a game against the Suns, Draymond Green would spin around and hit Yusuf Nurkic with a crazy backhand. Um, it's I don't. If you look at it in real speed, it looks like it's unintentional. But watching it just a little slower, it definitely he does like a full 360 spin to ensure that the hand comes around and just lays Yusuf Nurkic out. This comes shortly after, well, shortly-ish after, of course, that he choked Rudy Gobert. We know that he had all the things stepping on Sabonis last season. He was suspended for the Gobert thing. He came back, played a little bit, and now he's suspended again. This time, however, he's suspended indefinitely. Adam Silver has made comments, Steve Kerr has made comments about Draymond Green needing to seek some attention, get some help. So I'm not sure what's going on with Draymond Green. I hate to insinuate that he's suffering from some sort of mental condition, but he definitely has an anger problem, I would say, and that can qualify to fall into that bubble. And I'm not a medical specialist on that, but you can't see a guy cause that type of actual physical harm to that many NBA players and not say, like, hey, we got to do something. And the NBA has done stuff for sure. He's been ejected, he's been suspended. Um, and these things haven't gone unpunished. I don't know. Draymond, when you hear him speak outside of games and stuff, he doesn't seem to be an actual like evil, horrible guy. I've seen people saying he almost sounds like he goes into like a werewolf state when these things happen because he like talks about them as if he like woke up in the locker room later and was like, yeah, I don't remember choking Rudy for that long. I didn't realize it was that long. Like you shouldn't have choked him. That's the first problem. Um, so I don't know. I think indefinite suspension is good. I'm not sure he should be kicked out of the league. I know a lot of guys really hate Draymond Green and would be happy to see him be kicked out. I think maybe that's not entirely necessary, but the Warriors also just haven't been the most amazing team. They've had a lot of problems chemistry wise. Obviously, I didn't mention this one recapping Draymond's villainy, but he did punch Jordan Poole last year as well. So they've had some issues, surrounding that. Things are weird. I hope that Draymond Green, if he really does need help, I hope he's able to get it. I hope he, is able to recover from this and be less of a danger to the other NBA players. He hasn't always been this bad. I don't know what's going on with him this season. I mean, he's always been an aggressive, kind of tough player, but that doesn't mean that he's been, spiral backhanding the opposing players for all of NBA history that he's been involved in. So yeah, I don't know. I hope we don't blow this too far out of proportion, but I do. I mean, we've seen some conversations about the soon to return John Morant, and of course he has a 25 game suspension or had a 25 game suspension. And that was, for the image of the NBA and kind of the things that he was up to. And so you got to put that in perspective of like that was John Morant at the end of the day just hurt the NBA's image. He did things that they don't agree with. It was Terrence and I have covered that on the show. We agreed with the NBA's decision. Maybe not in comparison to some other players' suspension links, but that stands up well. So you do have to factor in that like while that was happening, Draymond Green is like actually causing a potential harm to various NBA players. So you got to factor in, the NBA's got to look at this and figure out what they want to do from here. And I don't really know what the exact solution is, but the indefinite suspension I think should work well enough to figure that out in the meantime.
Yeah, because it's not like we're gonna excuse what John Morant was doing. I mean, he shouldn't be out there playing with a gun, like especially after the first time when you got the warning and then the small suspension, and then you
Yeah.
come out, and it was just a lot more than just that. But not to compare it, but I mean, gee whiz, like you did say, he's just doing things to mess up the NBA image, things that are just stupid. But Draymond is actually out here causing harm on the court. Like I mean, like I know it's not the same situation, but do you have to quantify it like in the same, at least in the same, category um of games? Like I know obviously it's indefinite right now, but if they were to come out or if they had come out and done a you know 20 kind of game suspension or something like that, like would that be fine? Because I mean, you spend a job for that, obviously as a repeat offender, but Draymond has been doing this since before Draw was even in the league, and there were times where he definitely calmed down for sure. Like that I'd say like that middle part of I guess the dynasty is like he wasn't really doing as much. I just remember like really early on, obviously kicking guys in the balls like that was he was doing that a good bit. Thing with LeBron, that there was a lot going on early on, and I guess it kind of mellowed out a little bit more as they won more. But then, as they had some down years, of course, with the injuries, KD was injured and then he left anyway. But Clay being injured those 2 years, the years that they were really down, they ended up picking James Wiseman, like all that. I think that caused him to kind of start to feel a certain type of way, and then once they won again, 2 years ago, and then now it's like okay, he's still Draymond Green. Whatever happened with him and Jordan Poole, like maybe Jordan Poole felt some kind of way, because we never really talked too much about it, but maybe Jordan Poole felt like he was on the rise, and maybe Draymond saw that too, and he's like, no, I'm Draymond Green, I can do whatever I want, because now we had that early part of the dynasty, we had a low period, now we're back on top. I'm Draymond Green, like I'm gonna do whatever I can, and I think that was the beginning, legit to me, because he didn't face any real repercussions for that, you know. And maybe Jordan said something. I don't know. Like we have no idea. I guess we'll never know. But whoever released that video did neither of those guys any favors for sure. Um, but Draymond with that, with Sabonis, with Gobert, which the worst part of it is that it was literally a month ago. It's like it's Jesus Christ, bro. Like we just went over this. Like people, so many people are kind of pointing towards mental health or personal issues. I don't know. I have literally no idea if that's why he's doing it. I can't. It might explain it, but it's not an excuse. And it's also completely possible that Draymond is just like that, and that's just who he is. Like that is entirely possible. That's just who Draymond is when he gets frustrated. Like that could be it. Like it doesn't have to be a whole super deep thing. Like it could just be him, and when he gets frustrated, like that's the kind of thing he does. Like, but maybe it's something he can't get help for. I don't know, but that seems like that's what the explanation is for the indefinite suspension. Is the idea to kind of like what they did with Kyrie, basically saying like you can't come back until you take certain steps or whatever the heck that's going to mean. But if that's the way they're going to do it, then it still needs to be longer than at least 10 games. I mean, because at that point, even if he takes those steps, like you got to have some kind of punishment in there too. Like I get they want to help him if they think it's something that is going on with him that they can get help for, sure. But a punishment still has to come down because at some point this is just getting insane. And with the Warriors not being good right now, it makes it all the more worse. So hopefully we won't have to talk about Draymond getting suspended for doing something like this again. But yeah, you never really know because with how old he is, I mean, it's not like this man's 25. Like he's a 33-year-old man. Like he's grown. I I just don't know. So I mean, maybe he can turn around. I'd rather he would turn around than not. But we'll just have to see. With that being said, though, let's actually try to just finish this out without talking about some foolishness here. So looking at some of these upcoming games, is next week or so. A lot of Orlando, really, what we were looking at before. Orlando, they play Boston. Starts in literally about a minute. Right now, they also play Boston again on Sunday. Then Orlando, they turn around and they have a game against the Milwaukee Bucks next Thursday. So about a week from now, that'll be a pretty good one, I think. Especially with how big or how much better Orlando has been playing this season. So I feel like we're still in that kind of weird part of the schedule where teams are still kind of show who they are. And with Christmas coming up, that's like really the first legit showcase of the season. So
Yeah.
really, I'm looking most forward to that. You got some good matchups, and I know even with say a team like the Warriors, they're down. This is still a pretty big showcase for them going up against the Nuggets. So yeah, I mean the next week we got some good games, but I think it's kind of gearing up towards Christmas Day, obviously, where that's their big showcase, pretty much to the coming out party for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think Orlando's got a few showcases here that's going to be pretty big, which is kind of fun to think about in 2023. Orlando being some primetime television here and there, and then in that same vein of being kind of interesting to think about, Minnesota as well. Minnesota and Indiana is going to be the top defense against the top offense. That should be a pretty good one. I have liked watching both of those teams this year, and hopefully there's no more foolery with the Pacers going on with that one. In that same realm, we'll get a gritty game with Minnesota and Miami maybe on Monday night. So Minnesota could have some fun games. They've been a pretty good team to watch. They started down 19-4 against the Mavs just last night, and then Naj Reid hit 7 threes as a big man and dropped 27 to lead the Timberwolves to a 18-point victory from the hole they were in, kind of nullifying a Luka Doncic 40 bomb. So Timberwolves have been a resilient defensive team. I think that'll be good. But Christmas is an NBA holiday. They always put some good games there, and all the games we have obviously a representative of what would have been good games at the beginning of last season. So of course teams like the Magic, the Pacers, the Timberwolves, the Thunder are not going to be here because they weren't at a certain level at the end of last season, so they don't get scheduled that far ahead. I mean, we could flex things around. NBA does that a little off sometimes, but what we do have still are pretty good matchups. The Bucks and Knicks have had some pretty good games already this season, 2 of them in the in-season tournament. Denver and the Warriors will put the Warriors on display, and we'll get to see what they're really made of as we get to the later part of the season. Boston and LA is a classic matchup, and both those teams have looked really good, so that should be pretty good. The Heat have been a little faltery, and the Sixers have been high flying, but that should also be a good game. And then we might have a healthy Phoenix team against a healthy Dallas team, and that would be pretty good. That also gives us KD and Kyrie on Christmas at 10:30 p.m. for those of us on the East Coast. But yeah, I think Christmas is going to be good. We'll of course have some videos before then. We can get more in depth into those videos or into those games. We'll know more about the health of each of the players involved in those games. But really, this is the NBA kind of builds up to Christmas. I guess now we build up to the in-season tournament, get a little bit of a pause, kind of gear up for Christmas, and then we'll gear up for the All-Star game and really get things going. So happy to be at the Christmas push. I spend a lot of my Christmas day with family with NBA on. I've been lucky to have the Bucks play on Christmas a lot the past few years. They've also gotten whooped a lot the past few years on Christmas Day, so I hope that doesn't happen with the Knicks. We do play the first game, the noon game, so I guess my family will have to deal with me having that on just as we start to get cooking. I don't know if we'll be eating by noon. Good old Southern family style. People not always on time. So, but should be a good Christmas. NBA has been on a good run.